Hello there, it's me Tom again, and I'm now going to talk about the mastering, which ideally you'll be watching last, I suppose. But this is part of a 4-part series where I'm just looking at my track Laputa, and we're looking at mastering, sampling, drums, and synths. So this is the mastering video. It's going to be a little bit louder than the other ones I would have thought. So what we're looking at here is the project that I used to do the mastering, and I am definitely a huge fan of iZotope Ozone 5. It's pretty amazing. I need to check out the new version of Ozone actually, but a lot of money. But it's a great all-in-one mastering plugin, and I've been reading The Complete Guide to Mastering, I think it is, by Mark Cousins, which talks about it a fair bit, so I've got a bit of a reference point for it, and they have a great manual which was written by, what's the guy's name? Ian something? But he's very good. Like, it's a very much a guide to all of mastering as well as the plugin. So I'm not the best at mastering. I've covered it a bit at university, and the kind of problem with mastering your own tracks is you immediately have a biased opinion. Something you don't want when you're mastering is a subjective opinion. You want to be very objective about it, which of course I'm not really about my own music, but you got to do what you got to do. You know, I'm not going to be able to pay for people to master tracks that are put out all the time. So it's a useful skill to learn. You know, you understand audio and also understand what a mastering engineer would find annoying when you send it to them. So I've mixed my track to have about a -6 decibel headroom, and we're taking it as a mastering project here, and I've loaded in a couple of reference tracks. These are both by DJ Shadow, because I was going for a big deep trip hop and it was the first thing that came to mind. So we got this one, I dropped an instance of Ozone in, and I said to myself, look, this is what it looks like on EQ. That's the kind of spectrum we're aiming for here. And there's other things to look at as well. We've also got this one, which is a bit more suited, especially in this intro, and then it kind of it's a bit heavy metal somewhere in here. But you know, it's important to have a reference track for both volume and spectrum, and maybe some other pieces as well, like stereoscope. But going back to my track, I've added about 5 decibels gain going in, just so that it's, you know, before I even start mastering it. It was probably more initially, but when I listen to my track, I think, I'll turn that off. This is very quiet, and when I go to listen to this, it's very loud. So I immediately bring in some gain, and now I'm like, okay, you know, I can listen to them both objectively and hear the differences without being affected by volume, because volume is a huge deciding factor, obviously. So the first place I start with my Ozone is the equalizer. So the advice I've had with EQing for mastering is big Qs and low gain, so no more than about 3, and the same with cuts as well, no more than sort of 3 decibels. And I've tried to follow that rule here. The thing about equalizing is maybe you're there to kind of fix some of the mix issues, especially if it's not your track, but you're not really going to do that. So I think sticking to that rule helps you kind of keep that mentality, and it's very different to EQing something in a track or a mix, because, you know, you don't want to be too dramatic because you're dealing with all the instruments at once here. So if we listen to it without our EQ on, and with, you can hear it just kind of really brings out some of the key frequencies, and I was chasing after the kind of DJ Shadow one I was looking at, and it just kind of brings it a bit together. So next up should be the compression, and it's not always, if I show you my mastering chain here, that's what we've got. I don't ever put reverb on the master, really. But yeah, for the dynamics, something I'm not very good at, I don't think, at the moment. But you can see, typically I like to have kind of long attack times, because I've been told that's better. Long release times and then quicker attacks. But it's all about the kind of transients. Yesterday I read something that was saying that kind of having compressors on this auto attack and release is maybe better, because it's a bit more human for the whole track, and it's very hard to get it right to have it responding to the transients across the whole track. But for this compressor, it's quite strict on the lower ends, and then on the high ends it doesn't really do much. So it will catch stuff like harsh snares. That's my intention with it. And then really just kind of clear up any moments that get particularly muddy with the bass. If we just jump into this bit again, you can see it responding to a couple of the snares there that really bite. But there you go. I don't think I'm amazing with compressors. Then we move on to some distortion. Not everyone distorts their masters, but I just added a bit of tape distortion here, actually, probably more than I normally would, because I was really going for the saturated feel to the track. So yeah, it's a nice thing to have. I think I end up using it probably more than I should. Moving on to the stereo imaging. Again, not something you'll have to do in every master, but I find myself doing it quite a lot. I really wanted to spread out these elements. Sometimes I might even just chuck the low end completely into mono, but I was wary of some of those samples that are a lot more atmospheric. Just kind of keeping those tidy and giving them room to breathe. So then we've got the maximizer, which is where it gets very confusing and you have to know a bit about audio. I put a bit of dithering in here at 24 bits because that's the resolution I'm working in. And then we're in IRC3 here because I have quite a nice processor and it can keep up. It's usually why I default to that mode. And yeah, that's pretty much all I could say about this, really. Mastering is definitely my weak point, but if we just watch this in action, you can see it kind of really responds to a lot of the kicks and stuff. So what we've got is kind of like an RMS of about 6 when the song gets busy, and that's not too bad. A lot of commercial stuff sort of sits at about 4, but this wasn't really commercial. And if we look at like DJ Shadow's stuff, which is obviously quite old now, it's sat at about there as well. So the other thing as well is just a bit of advice from Bobcats is to set it to minus 0.3, because if anyone ever puts in a CD player or something, you just want to make sure it doesn't clip, because 0 on some machines clips. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I know that's not that technical, but I'm more of a kind of mixing person at the moment. I'm working on my mastering. But thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this series. I think it was interesting, especially for me to look back at my project and realise some of the mistakes I didn't spot going through it. But let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.